Ever wondered about the magic that happens when a student's journey transforms into a professional adventure? Well, today's topic is like the ultimate backstage pass to that journey. It's like going from hitting the books to hitting your career goals. Now, I know it might sound like a maze, but fear not. We have got some secrets, some tips, and a touch of magic to make it all clear for you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show, where we bring you insightful discussions on various immigration topics. I'm Rajni Bharara, and today we again have a special session with a very experienced immigration attorney to share some tips on transitioning from F1 visa to an H1B visa. So please join me in welcoming Attorney Prashanthi. Attorney Prashanthi, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Rajni. It's a pleasure to be here always.
Please note that this session is being streamed live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and the handle is Immigration Talk Show. Don't forget to subscribe to us. All right. Now, without any further ado, let's just dive right into the topic. And Attorney Prashanthi, I would like to, come to you, and I would like to ask you, for the people who might be unfamiliar, can you briefly explain to them what F1 visa is and its connection with H1B?
So F1 is a student visa that anyone who wants to study here on a full-time basis needs to get an F1 visa. There are many advantages of being on an F1. Of course, you can study here on a H4 visa as well, on a H1 visa as well. But if you want to be a full-time student, then you have to be on an F1 visa. In order to do that, you would have to apply to, seek admission to universities here in the US, get an I-20, and once you get that I-20, go to the consulate for a visa and get an F1 visa and come into the country. Being on an F1 has its advantages and disadvantages, and we can talk about that more later. But there is no connection really with an F1 to a H1. But what happens is it's a journey in progress. So a lot of people start on an F1 and then end up being on a H1, which is a work visa. And then, they go into a green card status and then citizenship. So this is the path that a lot of Indian nationals, especially, and many other nationals as well, this is the path that they take: F1, H1, and then green card and citizenship.
Okay, so to simplify, if you're studying in the US, you need to have F1 visa, and then you're looking for employment, you need to move towards the H1B visa. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Though employment is available on an F1 visa as well. Mm-hmm. While you're on F1, you can get OPT, you can get CPT, and there are two types of OPT: STEM OPT and regular OPT. So there are ways of working on an F1 as well. But yeah, if you want to be a full-time, work full-time, then H1 would be the route to take.
Okay. So guys, I hope so far you know now what exactly F1 is and what H1B is and their connection. So if you have any questions for the attorney, you can, drop your comments. We are live on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and many other social platforms. So you can drop your comments there and we will take up your questions and we will ask them to Attorney Prashanthi. Now coming to the topic questions, Attorney Prashanthi. So now firstly, we would like to cover pro tips on F1 visa to H1B visa process for fiscal year 2025. So the question that I have, first question that I have for you is about the eligibility criteria. So can you explain the eligibility criteria for transitioning from an F1 visa to an H1B visa in fiscal year 2025? And are there any significant changes from the previous years?
So in order to file a change of status from an F1 to H1, you have to first, of course, you have to be in status. That means you have to be in valid F1 status. You have to be maintaining your status as a full-time student, so you should be able to get a letter from your school saying that you're maintaining full-time student status. So you should be in status. That could either be if you could either be on full-time student status or you could be on OPT, in which case you should be maintaining your OPT status, because even for OPT there are certain requirements that you have to meet. There are two types of OPT: STEM OPT, which is the continuation of extension of an OPT for STEM students, people who are working or studying in the STEM field. And there's a regular 1-year OPT that you get after you finish your degree. That's called, post-completion OPT. And that has some requirements as well. To start off with post-completion OPT, you have to make sure that you have an internship. It does not have to be a paid internship. It can be unpaid internship, and you have to fulfill a certain number of hours. So that's the requirement for the post-completion. For the STEM OPT, you have to have a paid internship and again fulfill a certain number of hours. There's only 90 days in which you can be out of work, from the total duration of time that you're on STEM OPT. So there are certain requirements for that. So you have to fulfill the requirements under all the categories that you're in. So that's the first requirement to file a change of status from an F1 to H1. You have to be in status. Second requirement is, of course, you have to meet the guidelines to get a H1. So what are those guidelines? You have to be working, or you should be going to work on your H1 status visa in a specialty occupation, which means a job that requires a bachelor's degree in a specific field. For example, a software engineer requires a bachelor's degree in computer science. So you should your employer should be sponsoring you for a software developer or some kind of other related position. An attorney requires a bachelor's degree in law, a JD, right? So an accountant requires a bachelor's degree in accounting. So the requirement has to be industry-wide, meaning that it's not that just your employer should require it, but generally or usually the industry should require a bachelor's degree in a specific field. So you have to meet that criteria of a specialty occupation. That's a second requirement, I would say. I think the third requirement would be you have to register, and you have to make sure that you register because we all know that there is something called a cap. And under the cap, nowadays, in order to qualify for the cap, there is a pre-registration process. So you have to register, and you have to make sure you follow again the guidelines for registration, because then your registration will get denied if you don't, and then you won't be able to see whether you get picked in the lottery or not, and then you won't be able to progress towards a H1. So you have to make sure that you register properly, right? And there's some tips and guidelines for registration which we shared in our last presentation, and you can always go to that to check what those are. And in addition to that, after you've registered, you have to file a labor condition application, and you have to file it properly. Then finally, you'll have to file a H1B petition, and again, you have to file it properly with the proper fees, the required signatures. You have to send it to the correct USCIS office. So there are a lot of nuances with filing a H1B petition, and lots of do's and don'ts. So you have to follow all those. So it's important that you either, I think it would be important to seek the help of an immigration attorney to make sure that it's all done properly.
Okay, great. Also, I think yesterday or day before, I don't remember exactly, but I was reading this article where Elon Musk, he was actually batting for upping the H1B visa caps for allowing, more skilled immigrants into the US, because I think previously it was 85,000, now it has come to 65,000. So I think Elon Musk is someone who is very much batting for upping the H1B visa caps. So now, I would like to also ask you this, that let's suppose, is it important to have a an employment or a job related to your field of study, or you can have a different job relate, I mean, in comparison to what you have studied? Let's suppose you have a bachelor degree in some field and you're not working in that field but some other field. Can this work?
It's possible to work as long as you can get an evaluation showing that it is your experience is related. So say you have a degree in electronics engineering and you want to do a computer science kind of job, an IT job. It's not related because electronics, though it's closely related, it's not completely related. Or I can give another example where it's not related, mechanical engineering, for example. Some other engineering field where it's not related. Then if you can show that you have at least 3 years of work experience to add on to your degree, and your work experience is in the IT field, then you can definitely get a work experience evaluation done and equate your degree to be that of a bachelor's degree in computer science or information systems. And that way you can show that your degree is related by getting an evaluation done. So there's some workarounds with reference to this.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much for answering the question, Attorney Prashanthi. And now I'm seeing, I'm able to see that the chats have already started coming in, and we already have a lot of questions from the users for you, which we are going to take, but in a while, because I also have a lot more questions that I needed to ask from you. So now I would like to take my another question, and it is about the application process, basically. So about the application process, I would like to know from you that what are the key steps, involved in the application process for an H1B visa for someone currently on an F1 visa, and what timelines should applicants be aware of?
Well, I'll take the second question first. The timelines is you have to make sure you register by March. We don't know exactly when the registration will open as for this year. Last year it was March 20th and it lasted for 10 days. And then they had the visa, picking the lottery on April 1st, or rather they gave us the results on April 1st. So that will be the same, around the same timeline for this year, I'm thinking. It just maybe a matter of a few days here and there, but the lottery results will definitely be announced before April 1st or on April 1st, because that's when the H1B petitions have to be filed. The start of the H1B petitions is on April 1st. So we have to get the lottery results before or on that day. So you can file, as I said, on April 1st, and you have 90 days to file your petition. So you'll have to file by June 31st or June 30th, whatever the end of the month of June is. So end of June, you have to file by the last day of June. So you have 90 days. So then you have to make sure that you're maintaining your status, because your approval will come with a start date of October 1st. So October 1st is the date of the approval. The approval may come sooner if you do premium processing, or it might come later, but it will come with a start date of October 1st, which means that you can start working only on October 1st or later. So these are a few of the timelines to keep in mind for a change of status from an F1 to a H1. With reference to preparing of documents, as I said, we have to do the registration. You need some basic information for the registration, the name, date of birth of the person, passport number, some information from the company, name of the company, federal ID number. If you're a master's cap, then you need the name of the institution. Very important, you have to make sure that your institution qualifies for a master's cap H1. So it has to be a non-profit organization or a public organization. If it's private, then it has to be non-profit. And it has to be accredited. So we have to make sure that your organization qualifies for a master's cap. If they don't and you file a master's cap, then you're wasting your registration, because your H1 approval will not happen. It will not get approved. So once you've done your registration, and if your registration is picked, then as I said, you have 90 days to file your H1. So the first step is to file a labor condition application. And once that is approved, it takes about 5 to 7 business days for it to be approved from the Labor Department. And that is generally pertaining to your the salary for that particular position and that particular work location. So Labor Department has to approve the salary. And there are some conditions that you have to attest to. And
Okay.
once that is done and the LCA is approved, you are ready now to file your I-129 petition.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that you have all your supporting documents ready. You have to have a copy of your degree and transcript, of course, to show that you qualify for H1 and to show that you qualify for the master's cap if you've done the right.
Okay.
Copy all your previously issued I-20 forms, right, to show that you've always maintained your status as a student. Copy of your EADs if you've been on OPT. Copy of your I-20 that shows CPT if you've been on CPT. Last three pay slips. If you're on STEM OPT, you're required to work for a pay, so you'll have to submit your pay stubs. Your I-94, your latest I-94 showing your arrival departure when you last entered on an F1 to show that you're maintaining status. And also, if you are presently in status, then and presently in an F1 and you're continuing your course of study, then a letter from your school showing that you are presently enrolled as a full-time student and that you have paid all your dues. An appointment letter from your company, employment letter to show, offer letter to show that you've been given an offer of employment from your H1B employer. So these are some of the documents, and of course, the correct fee has to be enclosed. But these are some of the documents required for an F1 student when they're changing from an F1 to a H1. And then you have to file the H1 with all the required F1 to F1 to H1 documents, which is basically the I-129, the I-129DC, the I-129H, and of course your approved LCA. And again, you have to meet the criteria for a specialty occupation. So these are, some of the requirements, and this is the process to file the H1.
Okay. Okay, got it. And since you have mentioned about the documents and the process, how it's going to take place, and what all documents you need to have. So, are there any? I would like to ask you: are there any potential challenges that applicants might face during each step of the H1B application process, and how best to overcome them?
Yeah, so it is very common to get an RFE for a change of status from an F1 to H1. It's quite common to get an RFE, which is basically asks for maintenance of status. So it's kind of like a maintenance of status RFE. And
Okay.
usually in these RFEs, they ask for proof that you are in status. So you could be, as I said, on OPT status. You could maybe have taken a CPT, curricular practical training. That is basically you're working while you're actually studying full time. So it could be that you've done one of these things and they're asking you for more questions on whether you've maintained status during that period. They also will ask you if you have if you're maintaining full-time status. So they ask for, if you're on CPT, for example, they will ask you if why you've taken CPT, if your course is directly related to the work that you're doing on CPT. That's because that's one of the requirements for curricular practical training. So that's one of the questions they might ask. They might ask if an immediate requirement of CPT was necessary for as part of your course curriculum. If the immediate requirement, the relationship between the job and your CPT. So these are some questions that they ask on CPT, and also with reference to maintaining status, they can ask if you have taken any courses remotely, and how many courses you've taken remotely, and how many in-person courses you've taken.
Okay.
In the past, pre-COVID, there were very strict guidelines about how many courses you could do remote. There was only 2 courses that you could do remote. Now, post-COVID, the rules have changed a little bit, and schools, if they take prior permissions, are allowed a hybrid model whereby some courses can be taken remotely and some courses have to be taken in person. So they want to make sure that you're doing that, whether it be the hybrid process or completely in person process. So they will ask more questions with reference to taking courses in person.
Mhm.
So if you're living far away from campus, if you're living maybe in a different state because you're working on CPT in some other state and you're going over the weekends to attend courses because you might have a hybrid program, they want to make sure that you're physically present in the school. So usually they ask for how you came, how you go to school. Do you drive? Proof of that. Proof of an airline ticket if you're flying there. Proof of physical presence
Mhm.
in school on those particular days. That could be either a letter from your professor, or it could be, that you ate lunch in your school campus on those particular days and you have receipts.
Mhm.
From that, maybe credit card receipts, etc. So these are the few questions. And then in addition to that, if you're on OPT, then they will ask you proof that you maintained your OPT,
Mhm.
a letter of employment from your employer where you're working on OPT,
Mhm.
whether you actually were paid on OPT if you were required to be paid. So these are some questions that they will ask in an RFE. So you have to make sure that you have all those documents ready.
Okay. Okay, got it. All right. So everyone, I hope you have got, the answer, the basic. I mean, these are some basic questions that we get from a lot of users. So I hope, the basics of H1B and F1 visa is clear to you now. Now, what I'll do is, I know my team is going to hate me for this, also the attorney and everyone. But because, this program is for you, and, the program is for you, audiences. So we are going to give you the priority. And like I said, I know my team is not going to like it, but I will have to take, the user questions. Because I'm able to see a lot of question posted here on the screen. So first question that I would like to take here is of JBR Prasad. He really has an interesting question to ask, and he says, "Hi, my current visa is H4, and my qualification is Diploma in Electronics and Communication Engineering. I would like to know whether am I eligible to file an H1B fill-in."
Filing, I guess. That shouldn't be
All
filing.
right.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
H1B file.
yes, as I was mentioning, and I gave that exact example of having a, well, you said diploma, which is interesting because it may not be a degree then, and that's why I kind of get what you're asking. So you have to get an evaluation done
Mm.
beforehand, before you file the H1. Go to a accredited evaluation services. There are many. You can just type on Google and you'll find quite a few evaluation services available. And get
Mhm.
your degree accredited, because unless I look at it or unless I have more information, I don't know what a diploma means. A diploma sometimes could mean only a 3-year degree, or it could be only a 2-year degree. So you remember, you have to have the equivalent of a 4-year degree in a particular field, and that field has to be related. So first question is, do you have the equivalent of a 4-year? If you don't,
Okay.
then can you perhaps combine your experience and your degree and make it equivalent to a 4-year degree? Because 3 years of work experience is
Mhm.
equivalent to 1 year of degree. So if you have, say, a 3-year degree, you can add the 3 years of work experience, and that will be 3 plus 1, 4, and that could be equivalent. Now, the second question is whether electronics is um, related to your degree, so related to your job. So if you're working as an electronics engineer, no issues, or something related. If you're working in IT, there could be issues. So again, you have to get an evaluation done. If you have work experience, again in IT, they could maybe give you a bachelor's, the equivalent of a bachelor's degree in information systems, or or something to that effect.
Okay, okay. JBR Prasad, I hope you have got the answer. And now I would like to move to another question. And the question is from Indra Sena. So, what Indra Sena wants to know is H1B. Okay, she has an H1B filing query, and she says, "My employer is recommending me to file H1B through counselor processing, but a lot of people aren't recommending the counselor processing. And currently, I am on F1. So, what do you suggest?"
I don't see why you should do counselor processing. unless you know you're out of status or there's some issues that you have or you need to travel, that's an important point. If you need to travel while your change of status is pending, then you might want to do consular processing, because if you travel, then the change of status portion of your application gets cancelled, gets denied, and then they will only approve your H1 for consular processing anyway. So unless you need to travel or you know that you're out of status, there's no reason really to do consular processing, because with the cap gap H1B cap gap rule, it's easy to maintain status until October 1st, start date of your H1. And in the past, that would be a problem, because maintaining the status for another 6 months sometimes could be a problem, because you might have already finished your course, maybe your OPT was expiring. But now with cap gap, which artificially extends your status, depending on whatever status you had at the time of filing, that gets artificially extended until October 1st, the start date on your H1. It's easier to file change of statuses, so I don't see any issue right now, unless there's some issue that we don't know about, as I said, travel or being out of status.
Okay, because Attorney Prashanthi, so what happens is, so people suggest you something, and they plan, an individual is planning for something else, then people come in, friends come in, they suggest something else, and then there are a lot of mistakes that happen. So would you like to address some mistakes that are often made by students, especially while filing for this H1B?
Biggest mistake is don't listen to what your friends are saying. Speak to an immigration attorney.
Always.
To answer your questions, a lot of attorneys will be available for consultations. They might, be able to answer your question over email. So whatever question you have, make sure you ask an attorney, not your employer, because they might have a vested interest. I'm not saying all employers, but some employers might have a vested interest in giving you a certain type of response, because that is suitable for them, for their purposes, but might not necessarily be suitable for you. So contact an attorney. That's the biggest, most crucial advice I can give you.
Okay, the attorney will be able to solve everything. So, okay, also, I would like to know, is that the employer wants to continue in F1/OPT to save on taxes?
I don't know. And I don't want to speculate, but there could be many reasons. Maybe they don't have a job for them immediately on October 1st, so they want them to leave and then come back when there is a job available. Could be many reasons. Or as you said, they want, they anyway remain on F1, until October 1st. So they will continue to be on F1. They'll only change on October 1st. So, I don't know why they want them not to change on October 1st to a H1. They could be that there's no job. They could be, the thing is, if they don't change to a H1 on October 1st, for then you'll have to have consular processing. Then, as I said, the employer will have more flexibility to decide when to start the job on a H1. Maybe that's what they want.
Okay, so no changes in status to H1B.
Yeah, there's no change of status that will occur. In order to get your status changed, you'll have to leave the country and then come back on the H1. So until then, you'll continue to be on an F1.
Okay, got it. Okay, so next we have the question from Huram K. I hope I'm taking the name right. It's Huram. So Huram wants to know, can someone tell me the process for H1 stamping in India? I will be visiting first time after getting converted from F1 to H1.
Well, you have to go to the consulate website, and then you'll have to get an appointment. Lucky for you, the visa waiver has been extended, which means that there was a law which basically during COVID and was extended until December 31st, and which said that if you were previously held a visa, then you can you're eligible for a visa waiver. Of course, it's decided on a case-by-case basis, which means that you will not have to go for a physical interview, but you will submit all your documents through a Dropbox, and then they will process your case, and if they approve it, give you the passport, send you the passport in the mail. They're doing this so that they can open up the consulate for other interviews that are not eligible for Dropbox, and because of the backlog, huge backlogs that they have, especially for visitor visas and some other visas, they're really long backlogs. So they're trying to free up more space. So they have extended this visa waiver program. We came to know that in January. We were worried that it would not be extended. It's been extended, and it's bigger and better than it was last year. So now even people on a different status, not just an extension of the same visa, but like for example, this person who's on an F1 and now changing to H1, they will also qualify for a visa waiver. And also, even if your visa has expired 48 months back, earlier it was a lesser date, now it's 48 months, still you'll be qualified for the visa waiver program. And there is no sunset for this visa waiver program. Before they were doing it 1 year at a time, they were extending it. Now they've made it permanent, so that's good news. So we don't have to wait for an extension of it at the end of the year again. So having digressed a little bit, the consulate, I just wanted to bring in that information about the extension of the visa waiver program. So you will apply at the consulate website. You will get a slot. You will most probably qualify for the visa waiver. So you'll put in your documents at the Dropbox. The USCIS website will tell you exactly what documents you need to submit at the Dropbox. And then if they require more documents, then they could either call you in for an interview, or they could put you through administrative processing, which is a process whereby they are checking more documents and they're asking for more documents. So that could happen also. So that's the process for a visa interview. Once you go for the interview, if you go for the interview, that is, then of course you will be asked questions related to your job. You have to make sure that you know what is in the I-129 petition. You have to have a copy of the entire petition with you. Go through it, look at it, especially the petitioner letter, which describes your job. Know who your client will be, if there is an end client, or know what your job will be, know about your employer, where they're located, what is your pay. So make sure you're completely prepared for your visa interview, both technically and also with reference to other information regarding your employer.
Okay. Also, just a follow-up question here. So, Attorney Prashanthi, is there any particular document that an applicant, often overlook? I mean, which is very important, but it, sometimes happen.
It shouldn't be, because you need the original H1B approval, of course, so there's no way of overlooking that. But also you need your offer letter. It's possible to overlook that, so make sure you have an offer letter from your employer. The rest of your documents will be mentioned in the website as to what you need to submit. So just follow that, and if they need additional documents, they'll ask for it.
Okay, got it. All right, so now next we are going to take another question, and another question is from Haley Rose. So Haley wants to know, can I start a company if I'm in the US on a student F1 visa?
Well, you're not supposed to be working if you're on an F1 visa unless you're on OPT, and you're supposed to be working for an employer that's related to your the degree that you completed. You could invest in a business, you can invest passively, but you can't actually run a business, manage the business on your own. So you can invest, anyone can invest in this country, but you can't actually run the business.
Okay, so I think not, right?
Correct.
So, yeah. Okay, Haley,
I
thank
mean,
you so much.
again, if they're talking about passively investing, and someone else is running it, that's absolutely fine.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much, Haley, for your question. I hope you've got your answer. And to all the viewers who's watching us right now, we are taking questions now, so please be patient. And we are going to ask, we'll at least try to ask each and every question that has been posted by you, on different social media platforms. From Attorney Prashanthi. But for now, I would like to now take another question. And another question I would like to take is from Kavali Kishore Naidu. Okay, so Kavali Kishore Naidu wants to know, I have a Dropbox appointment in January, changing from F1 to H1B for the first time. The office location is Chennai. If I'm allowed to submit documents at other locations, or do I have to go to Chennai? Yeah. What would you say? I mean, what would you like?
You have to, hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so you have to go to Chennai because that's where the Dropbox location is. You have to go there. You can't go to another location and drop your documents there. Then you won't know what will happen to them.
Okay, okay. Then you still have to go to Chennai and then, work for this. Okay. Now I think I would like to take another question. Okay, Kavali Kishore Naidu, I hope you have got the answer. You'll have to go to Chennai, for the documents, and there's no escaping from that. But right now another question is actually from the user Shakun John. Okay, Shakun John wants to know, I got an H1B layoff, still have 30 days in the grace period. Is it better to transfer H1 to consultancy and wait for the project, or change of status to F1 at this time?
Okay, let me just read it because I couldn't hear you in between. I got a H1 layoff, still have 30 days in the grace period. Is it better to transfer H1 to and wait for project, or change status to F? Oh, that's up to you, really. So the question is, I've got a H1B layoff, still have 30 days in the grace period left. Is it better to transfer my H1 to a company, a consultancy company, and wait for the project, or change your status to F1 at this time? There's a lot of information in this question, even though he's condensed it and given it to us nicely. There's a lot of information that you can get from this question. So basically, we know that he's in the grace period. He has only 30 days left. So another the first 30 days has been used up. So it's a 60 days grace period. He's only got 30 days left. He wants to change his H1 to another company, but they don't necessarily have a job for him.
Mm-hmm.
They're only doing it so that he can remain in status.
Mm-hmm.
So then the question is, if you do it that way and there's no job, will USCIS send an RFE asking for what the job is, and if will they ultimately deny it if you're not able to show that there is a valid specialty occupation job available for the beneficiary? Usually, I mean, by law, they're supposed to do that. They're supposed to ask for that information, but they don't always ask for it. So it's luck. Nowadays, they've been lazy. USCIS has not been asking for, POs, work orders, and contracts. But we don't know whether they will ask in your particular case or not, but they haven't been. But, so it's a chance that you're taking. Changing your status, of course, you have the other option of changing to an F1, but there are advantages and disadvantages of that. Advantages is there's premium processing. So unlike earlier when it used to take 10 to 12 months and you're likely to fall out of status in that period, or be in pending status, that won't happen now because there is premium processing. So that's the advantage. It'll happen quickly. The disadvantage is that you would have to go back to a student status. You have to pay the fee, and you'll have to go back to studying, and you may not be able to work unless you take a day one CPT, which has its own issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to decide really what you want to do, depending on the consulting company, if they, so of course the F1 is going to get approved if you do it properly. So, and you don't know whether the H1 will get approved or not. So you have to think about what is important to you.
Okay. Okay, got it. Now, also, Shakun, I would like to tell you that a lot of 60-day grace period videos have been posted on our channel. So I request you to watch them for more clarity. And of course, you must have got a clear answer from Attorney Prashanthi herself about your question. But just in case you want more clarity or more depth of answer, you can go watch 60-day grace period videos on our channel, which is Immigration and Jobs Talk Show, which you have already subscribed to, I'm sure. But now I would like to take another question, and another question is from Adela. Okay, so Adela has a question, and Adela wants to know. It's an H1B petition query, basically. So she says, can I get promoted or get a pay increase while my H1B petition already been approved, and I'm just waiting for my visa stamping appointment? My responsibilities remain the same, though. What would you like to say?
I would suggest you do this after your visa stamping appointment, whatever pay increase, whatever promotion, because then there will be a discrepancy between the offer letter that you get and what's mentioned in the I-129 petition. So that's too soon to have a discrepancy like that. Then they'll question whether the information was correct to start off with. So we don't want that unnecessarily questioning, that line of questioning from the consulate. So I would suggest that once you come to the US, depending on what the change is and how significant it is, you can decide whether an amended petition needs to be filed or not. Most probably it may not be needed to be filed, since you're saying the responsibilities are the same. You could just get make sure that it's recorded, get a written promotion letter, keep that in your file, and employers should keep that in their public access file as well. And it should be fine to get a promotion afterwards.
Okay. Okay. And also, Attorney Prashanthi, I would like to know this thing that, let's suppose, a student, an applicant is on F1 visa, and he or she wants to transition to H1B. So, when they're planning about the employment or the job, how soon should they plan to, about the transitioning? How soon should they plan?
They should plan they should have a job ASAP, because they have to file their registration in March.
Even
So
when
that
they
they
are
should get
studying,
all their
even when,
information together, I
sorry
would
to
say,
interrupt.
by February.
Okay.
Sorry?
So I'm really sorry.
By February.
Okay, got
If
it.
they want.
Okay, so what I was saying was, when an applicant, let's suppose they are in their graduation period. So at that time also they should have a job if they're planning.
Rajni, I'm sorry, I am not able to hear you. You're breaking up now and then. Maybe internet issue. So you.
Okay, can you hear me fine?
Yeah. So I couldn't hear. I didn't hear that.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead and ask your question again.
Okay. So I was saying that, how soon they should plan. So you already answered that. But I was saying, let's suppose, you said they should have a job soon if they are planning to transition to H1B. But I also want to know that, let's suppose if a student is in their graduation period, okay, they are graduating, they are studying at the time. And after the completing the graduation, they are planning for the job or for the employment. Then at that time, how soon they should plan for the transition?
So they don't have a choice as to when they can move to a H1, right? They have to move every year. You only get one opportunity, which is in March. So whether they graduated, didn't graduate, if they require that degree because they want to be under master's cap, then they have to ensure that they at least complete all the courses towards graduation. They've completed all their courses, even if they don't have an actual degree. At least at the time of filing the H1, which is anytime between April and June, right? They have to make sure that they have completed all their courses towards the degree, even if they have not actually received the degree. If they have
Oh,
not, then they will not be able to file under master's cap. Maybe they have a bachelor's degree based on which they can file under bachelor's cap if they qualify. But then maybe if they don't, then they'll have to wait until next March, and make sure they maintain their status in the interim before they file their H1.
okay. Okay, got it, got it. Also, we have a question from a user. I think the question is posted on LinkedIn because I think the user has joined us from LinkedIn, and the person wants to know how to file an H1B with electronics and communication engineering. Okay, the name here
So
is.
yeah, we responded to this already, but let's respond again. Electronics communication engineering very quickly. It depends on what job you're searching. You've been confirmed with. I mean, depends on what job you have the H1 for. If it's an electronics engineer, then you really don't have to do anything else. If it's in computer science, which I'm guessing is the question, then you have to make sure that you have at least 3 years of work experience in computer science, and you have the proper experience letter with a job description, start date, end date, so that you can get it evaluated to show that the degree is equivalent to a bachelor's in information systems or computer science. If you don't have that, we can still file the H1B with the electronics engineering degree, but then the attorney or the person who's filing will have to show how the degree is related by going through the transcripts, seeing how many computer science related courses are there. Or if it is an electronics engineering from abroad, we can also get it evaluated to show how it's related to a computer science position. So we can get that kind of an evaluation done also.
Okay, got it. So the question was posted by Enrique Alejandro Martinez Juarez. I hope I'm taking your name right, Enrique. And I had to mention your name because I forgot to mention it previously. So I don't want to upset you. I want you to be happy that your question has been taken and has been also answered by Attorney Prashanthi. Now, next after Enrique, I would like to take Zuha's question. So what Zuha wants to know, she has posted this question on YouTube, and she wants to know, please help me to know about rule and regulation for renewing F1 visa.
So this question can mean many things. When she's saying F1 visa, is she talking about her status, F1 status in the US, renewing that by taking another course or going to another school, doing another degree? Or is she talking about renewing her visa outside the country? And let's presume that's what it is, because visa, that's what it means. Again, if you have to renew your F1 visa, you have to take an appointment. Most probably it'll be a Dropbox because it's an extension, and there's a visa waiver program for extensions of any visa. And they will ask you for your I-20, and they'll ask you again whether you're able to show that you have no intent to immigrate to the US. There's always an intent question when you're on F1, and you have to show your family ties in your home country. You have to show that you have family, maybe you have property, maybe you have a job that you're going back to, whatever ties you have. So that's a big issue with reference to an F1 visa is intent. So if you're able to overcome all these issues, then you should be able to get your visa renewed. And of course, your school has to be accredited and CVIS approved. I mean, I'm presuming it is, otherwise you won't get an I-20.
Okay. Zuha, I hope you've got your answer. Thank you so much for your question. And after Zuha, I would like to take another question from another user. And the user's name is James Thorne. And James wants to know, has anyone ever transitioned from H1B to F1 and then back to H1B? Assuming that you got H1B after bachelor's and currently enrolled in master's, but want to transition back to H1B. So this question sounds like a tongue twister to me. So I hope
Yeah, I mean,
I
you
hope you got
can,
that question.
yeah, you can transfer from any status to any status multiple number of times. You can keep doing it, uh, forever and ever, multiple times. So there's no restriction on how many times you file a transfer. So absolutely, you can file a change of status rather. So absolutely, you can file a change of status from any status to any status, H1 to F1, F1 back to H1. There's no issue at all. People do it all the time. The only thing to remember is the lesser number of times you do this, the better, because the lesser number of times you encounter USCIS or file anything with USCIS, the better for you. So always plan things ahead and try not to file too many change of status applications, because then you're just increasing your your liability, because the more times you file something, the more chances of getting a denial and getting having an issue with your status. So just to decrease um, your liability, just try and file less number of change of statuses, but yes, absolutely you can.
Okay. Okay. Got it. So James, you can transition from H1B to F1 and then back to H1B, as you said in your question. So you're allowed to do that. And now I would like to move ahead and take another user's question. And the next question that I have is from Ricky. And Ricky has posted this question on YouTube, and he wants to know, I recently got my H1B approved. I had F1 stamped on my passport that expired in July. Where to get H1B stamping done? Also, do I need to update my I-94, or it updates automatically with H1B approval?
So the question is, I recently got the H1 approved. I had an F1 stamped in the passport. So the visa stamp got expired. So he wants to know where to get the H1 stamping done, the visa stamping. Also, do I need to update my I-9? Okay. So, sorry, I had to read that again. But when you file a change of status from F1 to H1, automatically you get an I-94 approved. So you don't need to update it. It's already updated. It will be approved. And it's at the bottom of your H1B approval is the latest I-94. So you already have that. Where to get my H1 stamping done? You could go back to your home country and get it done. Or you can also get it done in Mexico or Canada if you don't want to travel back, to your home country. You can go to a neighboring country, and get that stamping done there as
well. Okay. Okay. Got it. All right. So after Ricky, another question that I would like to take here is of Hadi. So Hadi wants to know if my I-485 is pending and in process, can I continue my education with that status rather than F1?
Yes. So if you have a 485 and it's in process, and if you have your EAD, you need an EAD in order to study in the US. So if you received your EAD approval as well, then you can just show that to your school, and that is sufficient for them to take you off F1 status, and you're in pending 485 status. So yes, absolutely, you can do that.
Okay. Okay, got it. Also, Adani Prashanthi, before I take another user questions, I would like to ask you that, okay, could you share some real world example of challenges, where F1 visa holders have encountered, and provide insights into successful strategies to navigate these hurdles?
If I answer that question, it's going to take an hour.
Oh, okay.
Because there's so much. But I'll narrow it down to the context of this question. I think that's what you meant. And so there are hurdles with the people being simultaneously on F1 and 485, because, as I said, F1, there's an intent issue. Meaning you have to show that you have no intention to immigrate to the US while you're on F1 status. So if you're on F1 and you have a 485 pending, that's definitely an intent issue. So I would not continue on an F1 status. I would be on 485 status, because If you travel and come back on F1, you have a 485 pending. They may not allow you back into the country. If you're filing for an extension, you're filing for OPT. Everywhere there are questions of whether you have an immigrant petition pending, and you absolutely do in this situation. So I would say be careful. Don't remain on an F1 status while you have a pending 485. Best to transit to a 485 status.
Okay, okay, got it. And also, guys, I hope so far the session is informative and helpful to you. And if you need any immigration help, you already are getting answers from Attorney Prashanthi here in this show. But if you want to directly contact her and want any immigration help, so don't forget to reach out to her. You can give her a call at 212-354-1010. I would like to repeat the number here: 212 354-1010, or you can also mail her at prashanthi@reddyesq.com. Prashanthi with THI, prashanthi@reddyesq.com. Also, you can also visit our website, which is reddyesq.com. And now also, I would like to say, if you're looking for a project placement or visa sponsorship, you can reach out to me on my mail ID, which is rajni@higheritpeople.com, or you could also visit our website, which is www.higheritpeople.com. Remember, we also sponsor H1B visas, green cards, so don't forget that. Now, I would like to take another question here, and the question is from, okay, okay, so I have actually a follow-up question here. So, which, okay, let me just take it. I already have the question on screen, so let me just take this question first. Thomas Shah Nisa. Okay. Thomas wants to know, switching from H1B to F1 is feasible. Consult an immigration attorney for advice tailored to your situation. Explore OPT, STEM OPT, or other visa options for continued stay in the US. What do you have to say?
That's not a question. I think he's just making a statement. And I guess he's asking me whether I agree to that or not. And switching from H1 to F1 is feasible. Yes, it is. Yes, if you want to be on F1 and you want to continue working, then you will not get OPT or STEM OPT immediately. Obviously, you will get it after you complete your course. But you could possibly get CPT, which will allow you to continue working. Is this a continuation of a previous question?
I think so. I think so. I mean, I think this is in regards to what has been asked previously, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. All right. After this question, I would like to take another user's question. And okay, so can we have another question on screen? So I am able to see a lot many questions posted, from LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. So I have a lot of questions that I need to ask you from the user side, but I also have, Attorney Prashanthi, I also have questions written here. The topic question that I need to ask you. But like I said, in the beginning, that I have to give priority to the users. So here is another users, and the name is ARG. I don't know how to pronounce that. So I'll just take up the question. And the question says, can H1B holders switch back to F1 status and come back to H1B? Okay, I think we have already addressed this, but let's take another part of it. Will that not require lottery, or do we need to go through lottery again?
So once you are counted towards the cap, you're not counted towards a cap again every time you file a change of status. You counted towards a cap only one time. So if you are already previously on a H1, you do not have to worry about going through the lottery. You can automatically file a change of status from F1 to H1, and you're not subject to the cap.
Okay. All right. So now I think ARG, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but I hope you have got your answer. And now, there's a follow-up question about Heidi. So can we have Heidi's question on screen, please? And I would like to have Heidi's question on screen because there is a follow-up question, for her. And the follow-up question is actually about what if Heidi has an advanced payroll. So I think what she asked was, if my I-485 is pending and in process, can I continue my education with that status rather than F1? Okay, so you already have given the answer, but the follow-up question is, what if Heidi has an advanced payroll? I'm so sorry to take this question so late, but yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. So if she has an advanced parole allows you to travel. That's a travel document. EAD is what allows you to work in the US. And with reference to studying in the US, also, I think your school will ask you for approval, a copy of your EAD. So you should have both. Usually they give a combined advanced parole and EAD card. So look at your card and see what it says. It should be both. Otherwise, maybe it's separate, which is, sometimes they give a separate card as well. Just wait to get your EAD card or contact your student advisor to see. I don't think so, to see if you can work on a 485 pending status. I don't think so. I think they'll require an EAD card. So wait for the EAD card, or check your card to see whether it's both EAD and AP.
Okay.
And
So
hopefully
guys,
you have filed hopefully
yeah.
Rajni, she has filed the EAD. Make sure you filed it. You've not just filed the AP and not filed the EAD. If you haven't filed it, then file it now.
Okay. Hi, Heidi, I hope you have got your answer. And like attorney says, if you haven't filed it still, you go ahead and file it, because that is going to make your process easy. And now, to all the users, okay, so there's already another question, but I would like to take a moment here and tell you guys that, if you want any immigration help, we already have given Attorney Prashanthi's contact information, her mail ID, her website, and her contact number, through which you can reach out to her. But remember, you are consulting with an attorney here, free of cost. So just post as many questions as you want, so that we can ask her. So now another question that has been posted here is from M. Shanmugam. I hope I'm taking the name right. And M. Shanmugam says, I'm currently in F1 status, and my OPT EAD start date is May 13, 2024. I do not have any CPT at this time. Can I apply for an H1B before my OPT start date with the help of an employer? What do you have to say?
So if you can apply for a H1 as long as you are in status, any status. So depending on what status you will be when you actually apply, that status will continue under the cap rule, whether it expires or whatever happens, it's artificially extended. So if your OPT EAD starts May 13th, by then you should be able to file a H1 if you get selected, and you do not need to be on a CPT. So what will happen is your OPT will continue until your H1 starts, once whether it be October 1st or later, depending on when the approval comes. You can transition from OPT EAD to H1. So can I apply for a H1 before my OPT start date? Yes, because then you'll be in your grace period. You can apply before your OPT start date. You'll be in your 60 days period, I'm presuming. So the only problem is that if you're in that period, then that period doesn't allow you to work. So you'll have to wait until October 1st to work. So you're better off, I think, starting when your EAD starts. That way you'll be able to continue working. Or actually, since the say he starts before his OPT start date. Sorry, this is a little. There are a lot of fact scenarios here. If he starts working, if he files his H1 before his OPT start date, H1 will be valid as of October 1st. We all know that. In the meantime, whatever his status is, that continues. So if his status is then changes to OPT EAD as of May 13th, that's fine. Then he can continue working on OPT EAD. It doesn't affect, filing a H1 doesn't affect him changing from F1 to F1 OPT.
Mhm.
It won't affect it because the H1 actually doesn't start until October 1st. So I would say, just to avoid confusion, I mean, what's the big deal? Start your H1. Anyway, you can't file it before April, you file it in May.
Mhm.
So that way it's clear to USCIS what your status is as of the date of filing. But if you want to start it earlier, please go ahead and do so. You can do that as well.
Okay. Okay. So I hope, Shanmugam, your question, you have received the answer for your question. And now, we have a lot more questions, but we have, we are a little constrained with the time, so we do not have that much time actually. But still, I don't know if we can take any more user questions or not, but I would like to take this opportunity and cash it and take my question here. So, Attorney Prashanthi, I would like to know from you, I think, I mean, you also have, I don't think if you have that much time in your hand, but okay, what advice do you have for individuals who are not seeking employment but are also considering long-time residency or permanent residency in the US?
If you're not seeking employment and you want to stay here, it's very difficult because work visa is the best way um, to continue your journey here.
Mhm.
The only way you can continue without working is if you're able to get sponsored by an immediate relative, family member. Then you can file for a family-based green card. If, for say, you marry a US citizen, or you're already
Mhm.
married to a US citizen, you can pursue that route to get a green card and stay in the country longer based on that. So there are only two ways to immigrate: family and employment. So if it's not employment that you're seeking, then you have to go the family route.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for answering the question, because I had that question in mind which I needed to ask you, but because of the user question, I was not able to ask you that. But now, what I would like to do is I would like to take another question. Do we have any more questions? So I know that we do not have that much time, but still, I would like to give this last opportunity. If we have any question from the user, I would like to take one last question. Okay. So the question is from Teresita M, and Teresita wants to know, may I know if H4 is getting approved at the same time as H1B if filed in premium?
So what is the question? So I guess the question is, they file both H4 and H1, and she wants to know what
She wants to know if if the
what is
H4
her
is getting.
status. Yeah, what is the status if both get approved at the same time? I think same time. Yeah. So
Yeah.
your status is based on something that USCIS has always followed, which is called the last action rule. So
Mhm.
whatever you file last, that is your status. It doesn't matter when what gets approved. But say you filed your H4 last, then that will become your status. If you filed your H1 last, then that will become your status. If you don't want that to happen, then before the case gets approved, withdraw one of the petitions, whichever one was filed last. If you don't want to be in that status, then you should withdraw that petition. But automatically, whichever was filed last, that will be your status.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Teresita, I hope you have got to your answer. And now, because I said, this was the last question that I was going to take. So now I will have to end the show right now. And I know, Attorney Prashanthi, that you're really, really busy. So I would like to thank you again for taking out time and doing the show and coming to, Immigration and Jobs Talk Show and answering all the questions with so much patience and so beautifully. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Rajni. It's always a pleasure to be on the show, and looking forward to doing it in the coming weeks as well.
Of course, of course. Thank you so much. And guys, thank you so much for joining us on Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. If you like the episode, so don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and also share this episode with your friends, family who are planning to immigrate to the US. And for now, like I said, thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.
Are you an IT consultant seeking a new opportunity? We offer job placement services for US citizens, green cards, EADs, and visa holders. We also sponsor various work visas like H1B, E3, TN, and green cards. 20 plus years of experience in the industry. Exceptional employee benefits. Highly rated by our employees. Global presence with 200 plus recruiters and direct clients. Connect with us. Call us on the number 833-412-8472 or mail us at support@higheritpeople.com or visit our website www.higheritpeople.com.